You're listening to The Grip, where we take hold of mindset and martial arts. Now, let's get started. Welcome back to The Grip. Today we're diving into one of our special mini episodes where we mix things up with a few fast-paced segments. We'll kick things off with Grip and Go, a round of rapid-fire questions to loosen things up and to get to know our guest in a fun way. Then we'll move into Roll Call, where I bring in questions straight from you, our listeners and audience. That way the guest can tackle what's on your mind. And to wrap it all up, we'll finish with Word into Wisdom. In this segment, the guest picks a number between 1 and 100. That number ties to a word from the NICE list, which can be motivational and uplifting terms, and the naughty list, the gritty, tough, and sometimes challenging words. Once revealed, the guest unpacks the word, sharing their personal definition and how it's shown up in their life or martial arts journey, and what wisdom they take from it. That's it. 3 rounds, 1 conversation. Let's get into it. All right, welcome back to The Grip. For those listening or watching and haven't, please go back and listen to our main conversation. We really dive into all the wonderful things that Mendi and Kari are doing as coaches, as just training partners, and as they developed Unbreakable Jiu-Jitsu, a really thorough and in-depth and fun seminar that they just started this last year, but are going to continue for many more to come. So go back and listen to that so you can get all the deets. But for now, we are going to dive into our mini episode. So this is structured at a much quicker pace. It's more lighthearted. And so we'll fly through just 3 phases that we have. So our first phase is our Grip and Go series. So this is a more rapid fire questions. Okay. So our first question is gi or no gi?
No gi, no gi.
Okay. Can I ask why?
Oh, okay. I'm gaining more love for the gi, but I'm kind of fast and I don't like people to hold me down, and that helps if I don't have a gi on. For me, being little, I can wiggle around, but if I'm in a gi, people can hold me down. In no gi, I can like slip around more and I can move more, and people have a harder time controlling me.
Yeah. Favorite cheat meal or comfort food after a long day, or just in general?
Oh, favorite food is barbecue. Texas. Good Texas barbecue. We love Texas barbecue. Yeah.
Okay. What is your guys' go-to place or spot for barbecue within the area?
Oh, we have several.
Do you?
So maybe but our like favorite would be Goldie's.
Okay.
But you have to wait in line for Goldie's.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Is this the one that you got to show up at like 8, 9, 10 in the morning or something like? Okay.
Yeah.
It's a commitment.
Yes. We like to go train at 6 a.m. and get a coffee and get our lawn chairs and go sit in line for our barbecue at Goldie's. But then there is Heim that's really close to Genesis River Oaks, and Heim has their burnt ends are amazing. Okay. I love their bacon burnt ends, and that's a comfort food. You know, sometimes I'm like, I'm getting my therapy burnt ends today.
I love that. Ideal submission to win a fight would be?
Ideal? Well, my most fun submission is the scissor choke. That is definitely, I like the scissor choke. There's a story from Queens of the Mats when we both competed, and it was a fun event. And so I didn't know if it was appropriate to do a scissor choke. You know, it's where you're choking someone with your legs. Mm-hmm. And so I looked up in the thing, I looked at Mendi like, is this an appropriate time for a scissor choke? And she nodded her head. And so then I did it.
That was great. And we both hit it at Nogi Worlds last year, the year before last. So that's fun. I love arm bars. Mm-hmm. And so I have not hit a Choi bar in a competition yet, but I get it all the time in the training room. So I would like to hit a Choi bar in a competition.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Add it to the bucket list.
Yeah.
Okay. One word your students would use to describe you.
I mean, for me, like caring or thoughtful would be what a lot of them. I mean, not my jujitsu, but my personality.
Our jujitsu is mean. No. Oh gosh, I don't know. Probably funny.
Mhm.
I don't know. Thoughtful.
Yeah,
Thoughtful.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
and in combination, I think dynamic duo too. I mean, you
Yeah.
guys are just the dream teams. Training morning, afternoon, or night?
Morning.
Okay. If you could train with any martial artist, alive or dead, it would be?
That's an interesting question. Well, I mean, you have to say like Bruce Lee.
Okay.
Do you?
Yeah, I feel like I
There's
have to
been a
say
lot of
Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee lovers. That's like a
Like,
go-to.
I mean, he has a lot of. I like to quote him. He has a lot of great quotes. So, but I would really like to go to an Adele Fornarino seminar. I love her clothes guard stuff, and so it would be great to go learn from her.
Where
I'm
is she
terrible with
based out of,
names.
Mandy? Do you know?
Australia.
Okay.
So yeah,
I'm terrible with names. The basic knee cut. What's her name?
Fiona Davies.
That one.
Yeah.
Fiona Davies. But I can't. I can remember her name.
Yeah.
So Fiona Davies.
Where is she based out of?
She's based out of London.
Okay.
So yeah.
Very cool. I love it. Your personal fuel before training is
Does that mean food or like mental thing?
whatever. Mhm.
Well, I would say I will drink a Celsius, but most of the time it's just our car conversations on the way to the gym.
Yeah.
Really wake me up, get me going, ready to fight people.
Yeah.
Well, usually I don't drink coffee before we train. We train and then we eat afterwards or whatever. But definitely, if I've had coffee, that I get in the car with her because we live 5 minutes apart. So we don't
Okay.
live together, but we live 5 minutes
Pretty dang
apart.
close.
So she usually picks me up on the way and lets me be the passenger princess with her heated seats and all of that, my therapy. But I'll get in the car, especially if I just drank coffee, and it's like, okay, do you have anything to say to me? And then I'm like, all right, are you ready? Here we go. And then I'm like, especially because I coach a lot of jujitsu, and there are a lot of entertaining stories.
Oh
that
my
sometimes
gosh.
happen. So it's usually, are you ready to hear some of the stories of,
Yeah.
like
Funny stories, and then, we drill together what we're gonna teach all week.
Mhm.
And so it's really good for us. We bounce things back off like, oh, you have to give them this cue. Everybody keeps doing this. We told them not to do it, but they keep doing it. So you're going to have to fix this, And
Yeah.
so it's great to bounce that back off of each other.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so you guys said preferring to train in the morning. So is a lot of your schedules you're training at like 6 a.m. and then teaching what times in the afternoons or the rest of the day?
So our training is typically at 6 a.m.
Okay.
And then I coach 11:30 lunch classes Monday through Friday. And then she coaches the ladies' evening class on Tuesdays, 5 to 6. And then I coach on Thursdays, 5 to 6. And then I coach kids classes on Monday and Friday in the evening. And, I coach kids classes so I can talk to the moms. That's what I'm there for. I tell the other coaches, I said, I'm here to help you, but I'm also here to talk to the moms because they're if if they're willing to come in the door for their kids, then they're usually maybe more willing to try jujitsu.
Sure.
So
I mean, we're a product of that.
Yeah.
so it
Yeah,
works
I
pretty
love it.
well.
Yeah. The phrase you repeat to yourself on hard days is
Well, okay. I can do hard things is one. And we always say to each other, it's not always going to be like this, like when it's really hard,
yeah.
because you get really focused on the hard stuff and you forget that it does always get better.
Yeah.
And so that's a good one.
I say this is good for me. It is something I say a lot, and I say it to my students a lot. Especially, I'll set them up for a hard roll, or we're doing something challenging, and I'll tell them, this is good for you. But it's what I've been saying to myself for years, just in training when I have to be in a hard position to work out of. And I think, okay, this is good for me. But I also, in my life, when I'm dealing with, conflicts of having to challenge myself and address things, and I say, well, this is good for me.
Yeah,
So
very good. A wellness habit you wish you started sooner is?
Moisturize. Right. I don't know if it would have made a difference, but I'll never know.
Maybe moisturizer, because I've started using moisturizer a lot more these.
Very good. I like it. Good. And I do like, skincare within jujitsu is, that's a whole different ball game. I'm already kind of a grease ball. And so then you add the sports and the rubbing and all of that jazz. I definitely have had to explore different products. And I will say the spray that you guys provided.
Milusos.
Okay. I've really appreciated it. It's super simple.
Yeah.
And it seems like it goes good with all skin types. So I know you guys say it comically, but it is so nice when you find that one product that does make a difference.
I'm gonna plug them. They're not giving me any money or anything, but they're really great. Like they have a charcoal soap, and then they have a balm for after the soap. And those three things are really all you need. And I think it's helped as far as protecting my skin and jujitsu, but also, I feel like it's helped my skin as far as aging goes.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's great. Nothing that strips.
And I like it. I'm allergic to a lot of things. I have to be really careful about the soaps that I use, and it doesn't bother my skin. And I just got the glove. They have like a exfoliating glove. And so I've started to use that on my face, and then you can also use it on your elbows and knees and things like that. So I bought the glove, and I've been really liking it.
Nice.
It's been working well. So
nice. I'll plug them down in the show notes too.
That's great. Yeah, she's great.
You feel most grateful when?
I feel most grateful when everyone is happy in my house. All my kids are getting along, and I feel like those little moments that I want to treasure up in my heart, because running a household with teenagers, and it's hard. And so when we are all together and we're getting along and it's nothing special, but we're just together, I think that's where I have to like pause and like practice gratitude and remember and hold that in my heart.
I think I feel most grateful just on a daily basis when I look at my life, and I'm getting to do the things that I want to do and that I enjoy doing. It's always the joke. I coach jujitsu full time. I don't own a gym. I just coach jujitsu. And so it's the joke, I'm living the dream, which sometimes it's a interesting way of living the dream, but it is. And so I'm really grateful to look at my life where I get to do the things that I want to do, and I get to make choices for myself. And I didn't always get to I didn't always get to have my life like that. So I'm really grateful to have that.
Yeah. Very good. The best advice you've ever received was?
Someone once told me that what other people think about me is none of my business. And I thought that was really good advice. And I have to tell myself that, I want to be authentic and be true to myself. And I just want to be who I am. And that doesn't mean everybody's going to like me. And that's okay. And I have to not think about so much what other people think about me, because it is none of my business. And so I always thought that was a good piece of advice.
Yeah.
For me, it was make the voices in your head be nice. Someone was like, you got to make the voices in your head be nice to you. Say nice things to yourself. Working on that self-talk really has changed my life and changed the way I see things and approach things, because when I start to
Not gonna overthink that. I am. She can fix it. Remember? I'm not worried about it. There, she's not worried about it. You won't think about it. It's not.
Nope. We're gonna maintain that positive self-talk because we all fart.
Don't usually say it in conversation. But when I start to be mean to myself, I have to remind myself that I'm okay, and whatever I'm dealing with is gonna be okay.
Yes.
But
Very good.
we have stories for days of ways to laugh at me and things that I have said in front of people, which we laugh about them, but I don't overthink them. You know, again,
we collect stories. We save them up for each other and laugh about them, and then we go.
Very good. I love it. I love it. And very relatable, both of what you guys just said, because I do think it's so easy to get wrapped up on what other people are, their perception of you, especially when you can't really escape people unless you are a true recluse and just at home by yourself all the time. But within your jobs, when you guys are interacting with people on the daily, right? There is always going to be this component to having a little bit of forethought or concern of to what other people are thinking. And then you add the social media component to it, and then there's a whole nother level, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that's really, really great advice. And then same thing when it comes to self-talk is we can't shut that off. And so you might as well direct it in a positive way versus negative. And I know sometimes that's much easier said than done, but clearly a practice that we all need and could benefit from.
Well, and I think if you practice it, it's a skill that you learn. You can learn to speak positively to yourself. And I use a lot of the encouragement that I tell other ladies is the things I tell myself. But people think, with my not going to overthink that or things like that, they think it's just the way I am. But I've taught myself to be this way because I used to overthink things and used to, used to have awkward interactions with people and then worry about it for days. And it doesn't. I realize nobody's thinking about me near as much as I think they are. Everybody's worried about themselves. And so I don't need to overthink it because most of the things that, were a big deal to me, people didn't even notice or they don't care because everybody's worried about themselves, and realizing that makes it easier to not overthink it because it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Very good. Okay, now what we're going to do, ladies, is we're going to switch over to our second phase of our mini episode, and this is called our roll call series. Okay, so this is questions from friends, family, people from the audience that I pulled that I thought would be appropriate for you guys. So the first question we have is, I am a woman who's curious about jujitsu, but also pretty intimidated. What advice would you give me or someone walking into a gym for the first time?
Um, I think if you could look for their schedule to see if they have a women's only class, try to find the women's only class. Or I think if you could do some preparation ahead of time of contacting the gym and saying, do you have any women that train that I could talk to or plan to meet up with? And women come to our gym to try a class. I have my business card and I ask the office manager to give it to the ladies and to tell them they can contact me if they need anything. So I would think if you can get a hold of them ahead of time to find a woman to contact so that you would have somebody there that will welcome you and help you, I think that would be a really good thing.
Or just ask which classes women generally are typically there, and just that way they do have like a woman that can drill with them and show them around and talk to them and things like that. I think it's very helpful to kind of ease that. I guess I would say whatever you think you wear to work out in, don't wear that to. jujitsu because, you think I'm hot and sweaty. And so I'm going to wear this tank top and these short shorts. But then you start adding in, you're going to roll around on the ground with people. So then it's like wear a short sleeve, tight fit shirt and longer pants than you think you need because that's another aspect. People don't think about it. And then they show up and they're, like things fall out.
Yeah.
And so that would be advice too.
Wear slip-on shoes.
Wear slip-on shoes.
Yeah. I think that's actually great advice. I didn't even think about the component of what people wear. And it is so essential. If anybody listening is interested, but doesn't necessarily have a gi or rash guard or anything like that, that's not a huge deal. Obviously, that can come later. But just considering, leggings and like Mendi said, something tight, maybe more of a dry fit material. Cotton is going to get sweaty and it's going to get stretched. So kind of avoiding some of those things, nothing low cut or no pockets or zippers, those sort of things. Yeah, for sure. I like that you mentioned that. How long does it usually take before someone starts feeling comfortable training?
I would say as far as drilling and understanding the dynamics of a class and how they're formatted, probably maybe a month and a half as far as that goes, but I think probably 3 to 6 months of like regular training will help you feel more acclimated to what's happening.
Yeah, I think 3 months would be, a good indication or a good amount of time. Something that I have thought when I started going to just a new class. When I first started going to 6 a.m., they did always talk about like everybody gets roasted and it's a really hard room. And so I was intimidated about the 6 a.m. when I first started going to it because I didn't have someone to go with me. I was, by myself. But I remember driving up and thinking, all right, how many times do I have to do this before it stops scaring me? And I just kept doing it. And, now it doesn't, it stopped scaring me. And so there is this thought of, okay, if I keep doing it, it's going to get easier,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah, and I do think, like, from a personal level, I really liked this question because I do think it's probably individualized, right? Everybody's gonna have different takes on it all, and like as far as the structure and getting used to it and just like comfortable with the people and environment, I do think that probably comes at a very common pace for everybody. I think that there also is like maybe a component of you eventually just get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I think that's like the addicting part of jujitsu is like you think there's like almost a level of just getting to that state of being uncomfortable and knowing, oh, that's the norm now. I just now feel more confident on how to manage that and broach that and know that like I'm gonna survive. It's okay. We're okay. And so yeah, I think like that's where the addicting component comes in because in those moments of uncomfortable, there can be like bits of reflection, right? Of like, why was I uncomfortable today? Did I get smashed? How many times did I tap out? Was somebody just really smelly? I don't know. Was I having an off day? Who knows, right? But like you get to kind of dissect that. And I think that that's why every class is always going to be different. And there's just so much joy with it.
Well, and I think also it helps when you have people that are experienced that are telling you this is normal, this is okay, you'll get through this and look for when I first started, one of the teenagers that was, my easy teenager was not easy and he would submit me 6 times in 6 minutes. And I remember my goal was just to make it only 5 and then got to only 5 and then got to 4 and that was just I would look for the shining moments and the roles where I could see some improvement. If she was talking about how like you start to recognize things or I knew what the submission was called as I was tapping, like and looking for those shining moments. But if you have coaches and what we do for our ladies of modeling encouragement and positivity and then they do it for each other and having these voices tell you that it's okay to be bad at this and it's okay to not know what you're doing and that you will learn and you will get better and that it's it just takes time and being accepting this discomfort of not being good at it. I think for women especially we get used to when you're older, you're used to knowing how to do everything you do. And then you do this new sport and you don't know how to do it and you make mistakes, and being willing to accept that and see that as positive, because if you don't know how to do it, you can learn and you can get better.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, we've talked about this, I feel like to several different people this week, but a lot of people see discomfort as bad. Like, and so that means a sign that they should stop doing this thing that they're doing instead of like pushing through it to see what's on the other side. And like a lot of times, well, like one of the ladies, I tell her she's not aggressive enough. So like she's not, I can see like a sweep, like she can start a sweep, but she can't finish it. And it's not the logistics. It's like here and here. I said, just because a door is hard to open doesn't mean it's locked. And so a lot of times people, they push on the door and it's hard. And so then they don't keep pushing. And it was never locked and they just stop. And so like knowing that it's okay to like push and struggle through something because there's something better on the other side is something we learn in jujitsu, but we also learn in our lives, you know.
Yeah. I love that. So good. Do you need to be athletic or in shape before starting jujitsu?
No.
No.
One of our Liz Mitrovic was not, she's like a big nerd. Like she's a bug scientist and she was never into sports or anything like that. She's more of a Dungeon and Dragons kind of gal, but she's like competing at the world championship level as a black belt. And so she's like prime real estate for that. Like, no, you don't have to be.
Yeah.
And I think people they want to wait to start a lot of things. You know, they want to get in shape. They want to do this. They want to do this before they start a myriad of things. But it's like, sometimes you just got to start, you know, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, and what I liked about jujitsu was I did play basketball and soccer and different things. And, you know, I was too short for basketball, and your physical attributes, there are other sports throughout school that you weren't good at because of the size of your body. And with jujitsu, what I loved about it when I first started was I could work really hard and get better. And I wasn't limited by my size. I could just, if I keep doing it, I get better.
Yeah.
Yeah, the adaptability of jujitsu is amazing. Like to go to Master Worlds and see these Master 7 blue belts or Master 7 black belts that have been training forever, still out there doing it to some capacity. I've seen blind grapplers, you know, be let out. I've seen, you know, amputees. It is for everybody. You can adapt. It adapts to you. It meets you where you are. And so it's like these certain limitations. We think they're limitations, but they're just differences.
Yeah. Yeah. What advice would you give women who are the only female in their gym, or one of the only? You know, I know within the DFW area, we do have the luxury of there's lots of gyms around, and the women's community in general within jujitsu we know is growing. But as new gyms are popping up, maybe in more rural communities or small towns, and maybe you are the lucky female that is brave enough to brace that environment, or you know, maybe you guys do have a large female community, but you happen to walk into class and you are the only female. And what advice would you give that woman to still have a good training experience?
Well, one thing we talked about at camp was one of the ladies said, how do I ever get better if all I ever do is get smashed by the men? And that is every rule is just getting smashed by the men. And something I suggested and something I have done is sometimes I'll ask the men to sit down and let me work on passing and be like, hey, can we start from this position, you know, so I can work on this? And that woman said, well, I don't want to waste their training. But I think, you know, if you pass their guard super easy, they probably need to work on their guard retention. And so maybe that is good for them. And so knowing you can ask the men what you need in your training, that you're allowed to. Because I feel like women, we come in and we don't really know what we can ask for and what we can do. And knowing you can, if it's if it's positional and there's a man that's like really big and it's not going to be a super realistic scenario, you could go to the person that's more your size, you know, and then knowing to like in positional, if you have a really big guy come to you that is very likely to hurt you, let them win. Let them win. And then it's done. But when you're rolling, you can ask the men for, you know, hey, can we start in this position so I can work on this? You can ask them to give you the scenarios that you need to work on in that training session. And it's whether the men, whoever it is, realizes it or not, it's good for them. It's a good opportunity for them to work on that position too. And I've never had a man say no and be like, oh no, I don't want to. They're usually willing to work with you on what you need to do. And then I would also say for women, if you're the only woman, try really hard to be super welcoming if a woman shows up. I think sometimes when you're the only woman, you almost get territorial because these are your training partners and this is your gym. And you really, if you want more women to be there, you got to be really welcoming and know, like, you would be their training partner because that's usually what happens. But know if you're welcoming to them and then you help them get good at jujitsu, they become a good training partner for you.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And I think Carrie said this before. If you didn't have that, like you didn't have a woman that welcomed you in and helped and was your training partner, like be that for somebody else. Like be what you didn't have. And it perpetuates because then that person learns how to do that. And so when the next woman comes in, it's like handing it down to the next generation, you know, and that's what we see a lot. Carrie was that for me, and we model that with each other. And so we see our ladies repeat the same things we've repeated to them and be an encouragement and be welcoming and things like that. But as far as going back to the original question, like if you're the only woman in your gym, I mean, get your girlfriends to come to jujitsu.
Recruit.
But recruit, yeah. Tell them, you know, what it's done for you. But, you know, I have great male training partners.
Yeah.
And I deserve to be in that space as much as they do. And it's okay, like, for me to pick my training partner. I don't have to wait till they've all picked and then I'm like, what's left? I go, you're gonna be my training partner. You know, I ask them and because it's the same. Like, you know, if I'm there as a student, so are they. And so, you know, and they like training with us. I've, you know, talked to them in like they're forced to do a lot of, you know, self-reflection on their technique when they can't just smash, you know, and one of the guys that I roll with, like it's our thing now. He's a lot bigger than me and he's a police officer and he sits guard and he's just really having to learn how to be better at guard retention because I'm fast, you know, and so it's good for both of us. I'm working on my passing, he's working on retention, and he's forced into a different, you can go to the whole down the whole like CLA. It's a constraint led training, you know, it's a constraints led approach. Like you're going to even the playing field and make it beneficial for both training partners if you change the dynamic that way.
Yeah. Yeah. For those considering competing for the first time, what should they expect?
To not remember anything.
Be prepared to black out.
Yeah. No. Be prepared for the intensity. Like I think that's something that if you're going to compete, ask some of the competitors in your gym to roll with you at a higher intensity with more aggression, more speed. Yeah, those are things that you need to be acclimated to because it's a whole different ball game when you get into a tournament, especially if you're into a tournament where people aren't, it's not also their first tournament. Like they've been down that road before, you know? And so I think just being acclimated to the intensity the best you can is a good idea.
And I would say understand the rule set, read the rules, know what the rules are, understand the uniform rules and like the weight just because you don't want to go into your first tournament and whatever you were wearing is not acceptable, or you're overweight and you get disqualified. So be prepared for the weight class you need to be in. Be prepared with your uniform. IBJJF, if it's nogi, you got to wear your rank colors. Just be, and all that's on the website when you sign up for a tournament. So know the rules so you're prepared.
Yeah. Yeah. What mindset shift helped you the most when stepping onto the competition mats? I know you guys kind of already spoke about this in our main episode, but give a little snippet.
Well, we are so excited. That's what we say.
Mhm.
We're excited when we compete instead of saying I'm nervous, because we have to tell our minds that the feelings that we're feeling are normal, and we need to retrain our mind to think that it's because we're excited about what's about to happen, not because we're afraid.
Yeah.
When I think for me, it was I compete because I really want to get better at jujitsu. And this is feedback. And I need this feedback to get better. And seeing it as feedback and taking the feedback afterwards of watching your videos, evaluating what happened and what went wrong. That was really a turning point for me in my training when I finally because it's so hard to watch your losses, watch a video of you lose, and to accept that. And so it was a turning point when I said, okay, I'm going to watch the video, I'm going to show it to my coach and have him watch it, and we're going to figure out what I need to fix. I'm going to take this feedback and change what I'm doing. And now some of my favorite moves have come from losses where I had a problem and I lost because this particular situation. And so then I started drilling a move to fix that. And now I use that move all the time. It becomes some of my best moves that were the moves that I needed to fix how I lost in a particular tournament.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really like it. I've ran into a number of people where they sign up for a tournament or they go compete, and I think people just have different approaches to it. Whether it be I want to make it to the top, I want to bump up in the rankings. I'm competing for life. This is or for as long as I can, sort of thing. And that's kind of what they're really focusing on. I also really appreciate and respect the people that are like, I just kind of want to see where I'm at. Because it's such a different way that you can get that feedback. And of course, on the day-to-day practices when you're going in, you're getting feedback all the time of various methods, but it is a different level of feedback that you are getting, and it's just a test to yourself on just another advanced level of discomfort. Different environment, different people, different speed, strength, the whole shebang, and that you don't get on the day-to-day when within your practice. And so, like I said, if that truly is what they're wanting to see, is like, I don't know, I just kind of want to see, how it goes and see where I'm at as I've continued to practice. I get it. Like, I think that's admirable too, because it does take a level of courage to step up and do something like that.
And it is nice when you compete, it's, finally apples to apples. Because in the training room, you're fighting or you're going against people that are younger than you and bigger than you and all different experience levels. And so when you go into competition, it is where you get to see where you're really at and see how your jujitsu is. And it's funny for me because sometimes the training room is so challenging. You forget that you're good at jujitsu, and then you go to a tournament and you win, and you think, oh, I am good at this. It's just I'm always fighting people that are better than me or stronger than me. And I guess that's part of what training's supposed to be. Is your hardest round should be in training so that when you go to the tournament, it's easy because you're not having to go against people that are so much stronger or better than you. But it is nice to when you go to a tournament and compete and feel like, oh, I am good at jujitsu. I do know stuff.
Yeah. And there is a different level of confidence building within those practices. And so ideally, people aren't just going to practice and just, training and working with somebody that's the same height, the same weight, the same gender, because there's a beauty in, rolling with somebody who is 50 to 100 pounds heavier than you, that's male or whatever. And you are like, okay, I freaking held my own there. Or going with somebody who's, 50 pounds lighter and they just dominate you. It is humbling. And I think those are moments where you get to build mentally, but also physically. And heaven forbid if it did come into those situations, but jujitsu is a level of self-defense. And so people, I know that's sometimes why people start, or they start to realize like, okay, I think I do have this level of confidence or, safety, I guess, a little bit in myself, that if it ever came down to it. And what better way to practice with any level of population is than going with a variety of people and genders. So I think that's what's really cool too. Good. What lessons has competing taught you that apply to life outside of jujitsu?
I mean, we've talked about it before, but just being comfortable, being uncomfortable, being put into difficult situations, having those difficult conversations. In my business, it's like sometimes I don't want to talk to people. If it's going to be a hard conversation, as a parent, as a wife, like I'm going to have to talk about this. And I think enduring something physically strenuous or challenging or uncomfortable, it prepares me to do that outside of the gym.
Well, you show yourself that you're capable of being in a high stress situation and controlling your mind and controlling your body and knowing that you can do the same outside of the competition mats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who were some people, whether they were in the sport or not, that inspired you early on in your journey or continue to inspire you just to keep going?
Karen Baines, definitely inspired me, to try it, and then put faith in me to help coach, and then told me that I could be a world champion. She, it really inspired me, and Albert Hughes as well. Genesis River Oaks, the professor owner there. He was part of when Faith competed at this tournament. My daughter Faith had competed and kept fighting everybody. He talked to her and told her, you're doing something that most people are scared to even try. And I remember hearing that and thinking, oh yeah. And I don't, it made me want to start jujitsu because I didn't want to be scared to try.
Yeah.
So
That's good. Well, I will have to say, Carrie Summers. She was from day one. She's been my training partner and coach, and is like my best friend. And she inspires me the way she's helped build this ladies program. And like, I just want to, I want to help her. And so that's kind of how all that came to be. And I just see the benefits of jujitsu for women. And so it's an excuse to hang out with her a lot. So we enjoy it, but I'm just thankful for her and her influence and the way she's like poured into me. It was great. I wanted to compete right away, and she was a competitor. So I was like, well, Carrie's successful, so I'm going to do what she does, and it's provided great dividends for both of us. I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. If you could go back and give your white belt self one piece of advice, what would it be?
It would have been the self-talk, being nicer to myself at the beginning and allowing myself to be a little bit more in charge of my training and choosing who my training partners were and and rather than just, accepting whoever would take me, realizing I did matter and I did belong there and I could choose for myself who I was training with, and I think and keeping it positive.
Yeah, I think I probably would have tried to slow down, like tell myself, slow down, just enjoy it and just take it all in, not be so myopic about what I was doing. I think a lot of times I was trying to just consume a lot of jujitsu instead of just enjoying and just like letting things stick to me naturally. And I think that's what I would tell myself, to just slow down.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, I almost would like give myself a little bit of, hopefully forth. I don't know if my white belt self would listen, but knowing the journey is going to look a lot different than what you think.
Yeah.
Because I think when I started, you hear all these inspiring stories, and like, as you guys know, when you get into that martial arts community, you are just surrounded by such badass, inspirational people that are just amazing, kind, inside and out. And I just remember like hearing all of these and thinking like, okay, I know how I'm going to get there. And I have an idea of what it looks like. And I almost like looked at it as like a checklist, and it's so much more than that. And I realized how much my outside life intertwined with my, martial arts journey. And it's pretty amazing. I mean, and I didn't have any idea. And I don't know if anybody truly does until you get started with it and then you continue to do it. But I think I would just tell myself, let it be, and just take the journey as it comes, because it really is so individualized. And so, yeah. Okay, very good. We are on our very last section of our mini episode. And so this is our word into wisdom. So what we're going to do is we have a naughty and a nice list. Okay, so what you guys are going to do is pull a number from 1 to 100. And then we can either start with our naughty list, which is more challenging words that you guys can either kind of provide a personal definition, how it's maybe shown up in your life or martial arts journey, and what wisdom you take from it. Okay. And then our nice list is just more upbeat, motivational, positive terms. And so, which one would you guys like to start with?
You pick.
Yeah. Well, I'd rather, I guess it's like the naughty. Let's get it over with.
Okay. Okay. So, what number do you guys want to do? You guys can each choose your own, 1 to 100.
I'm going to go with 22.
22. Okay, your word is desperation, a state of hopeless urgency that drives reckless decisions and unhealthy attachments. So, as you think about this, Mendi, and you can take your time, but again, just like personal definition, maybe how it's shown up in your life or any wisdom that you have for the term desperation.
Desperation. I'm thinking about jiu-jitsu. It's like
That's
throwing
fine.
up those last minute desperate Hail Marys to try to pull out a win at the end of a tournament.
Yeah.
Like,
When do you get that level of urgency?
for us, we particularly just do IBJJF and we're masters. So it's 5 minutes.
Okay.
And so, like, for me, because I have this black belt that's way more experienced than me, she's like, the last 30 seconds. Just
Okay.
tell me when it's the last 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Because with experience, you learn where your desperation level is.
Yeah.
Everything feels like when you first start competing, it's all very fast and you don't have time to do anything. And you're throwing up desperation moves and losing positions over things. But as you gain experience, you know where the threshold is and you start to feel like where I have to make a move or, I'm going to lose anyway. And so, like, I may as well give it a shot.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Okay, Kari, what's your number?
77.
77. Okay. So this can be taken both ways. Okay. So the term is pride. Okay. So obviously we know being prideful, that can be positive. Okay. So this is more in the destructive form, an inflated sense of self that resists accountability or humility. Okay. So any personal definition, experience, or just wisdom that you take away from the term pride?
We're talking jujitsu. So the pride where people don't tap when they should tap. Like there's this pride, especially, well, you see this pride when they're in a position and they should tap and they want to fight it and then they get hurt. And, we spend a lot of, as a coach, I spend a lot of time telling people, it's not worth having a sore neck for a week, and it's not worth your arm hurting or something. If you're in a position and you can't get out, you need to tap. Like, protect yourself. You're in charge of protecting your own body and you need to tap. And I've had times when like we're rolling and she's getting me in a position and I'll like mentally prepare myself. Okay, it's getting close. Prepare yourself because if you have to, you're gonna need to tap, and you can't be prideful about it and not tap. And and I'll mentally be preparing myself of, oh, it's getting risky. Be ready for that. And knowing like you have to tap sometimes. And it's funny sometimes you get, especially when you're more advanced, you almost get out of the habit of tapping because you just don't get submitted a lot or for whatever reason. And so sometimes when I get submitted and it was like, it's a good reminder, this still happens, but your pride gets you hurt. That's, sometimes I think I was talking about positional where sometimes people will, oh, so and so hurt me, but it's like, why didn't you just let them win? Why didn't you just tap right away? Or why didn't you let them, if you're in positional where they're passing, just let them pass. And so it's like, don't let your pride hurt you because you don't have to win every round. You don't have to win. There's nothing wrong with tapping and protecting yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Very
Well, and
good.
it's I'm interjecting this.
Add
It's like
to it.
this, you know, winning a round in training is arbitrary anyway. You don't know what kind of day they're having, what someone's working on. It's like, is it even real? Like at this point, if you're with somebody that's advanced and they let you get way down the rabbit hole because they're working on escapes, like, like it's not even real.
Yeah.
And so in the reverse, there's no room for pride because like one of the documents we have in our women's group is rolling etiquette. And one of the parts is about tapping. And it says, do not think that your stubbornness will preserve your ligaments because it will not. Like, it won't. It's real. Your ligaments are real and they're really, it's on you to tap. Yeah, for sure.
And then I think it leads into when you get to the point of tapping or not, whatever, getting choked out or a joint hurt, whatever. I do think that tells a lot, and there's a lot of growth with the response following the tap or, the win or whatever is, I think, you guys have seen it all, I'm sure, too, of just the people that throw out any level of excuse as to why that happened, the people that ask questions like, oh, why did that happen? Like, what could I have done better? Looking for feedback. Somebody that gets up and is like, all right, let's go again. Just ready to, I think that those moments obviously build character and there's not really room for pride or ego. And if that is the case, then I think you're stunting room for, moment for growth, right? And just being able to be humble and take it in and then know that like that's part of the process. So, okay. Finishing off on a more positive level, but I loved your feedback on that. So going to our nice list. So same thing, you guys can just pick any number between 1 and 100.
88.
Innovative, tending to or introducing something new.
Innovative. I am going to go with jiu-jitsu because that's what we're talking about. I think that that's what's fun about jiu-jitsu is that once you learn the rules, you can break the rules. And there's ways to go about, like, jiu-jitsu is like evolving, like you see, and it's live feedback. Like I can do the same move to Kari and do the same move to somebody else and I'm going to get a different response, or even do it to Kari twice and I'm going to get a different response every time. And so to have that freedom, why they call jiu-jitsu an art, a martial art, it changes and you can express yourself in a way. And so you can be innovative. Like, I love arm bars. Well, I see arm bars everywhere because I understand the mechanics. And so you can be innovative on the fly, live feedback. And so that's one of the things I love about jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. And I talked to one of my other guests about, he was kind of raving about having a creative space. So being able to have an avenue of creativity, whatever it may be. And I do think that's something that's really cool about jiu-jitsu is you get to be creative and find your style and preferences, right? And so it's always room for being innovative in that aspect. I also just want to shout you guys out because I think there had to be a whole lot of creativity that came with developing and evolving Unbreakable Jiu-Jitsu, and that had to have been just like one creative bubble after another. Is like you guys are really truly, you started from nothing and to see what you developed and are continuing to develop. I can see why you guys have the biggest smiles when you talk about it and really pursue it, is because it's a creative passion. And so I just want to give you your praise on that. All right, Miss Kari.
45.
Optimism. To anticipate the best possible outcome or to put the most favorable construction upon actions and events.
In thinking about our camp, I was excited about it, but also I kept thinking we were bringing all these ladies to a space to do jujitsu, and I thought I was optimistic in that it was going to be great because we were together, we were going to be there, and all these other ladies, and we're going to learn jujitsu. And I knew all of my favorite things were going to be in one room, and so how could it not be great?
Yeah.
And I think looking at things positively is so much healthier than looking at it in a negative light, and choosing to be positive and choosing to walk away from negativity and focus on the positive and focus on how good things can be, and working to make that happen.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Very good. All right, ladies, that is a wrap. For those listening or watching, I will be putting all the Instagram plugs. Go check them out to see more information about their camp, more seminar coming up in 2027 to kind of tap into various Genesis Jiu-Jitsu locations, maybe take a peek on their CrossFit gym, and then also their connection that they have with Queens of the Mats, and I'll plug in their websites as well. So all sorts of things to follow and explore, and you won't regret it. So for any ladies specifically that are listening, I'm probably speaking for you guys right now, but reach out to these guys if they have any questions. They truly are just like a breadth of knowledge and kindness and motivation. And so if you're curious about starting or you're just in the game and you want to continue to be surrounded by positive women, these two would be a good start. And then if you want to explore and just start planning and prepping for next year's camp, now is the time, and just keep an eye on as they start progressing and get a location and all the deets as it gets closer to February of 2027. Kari, Mendi, can't thank you enough. I really appreciate you guys taking the time, and I can just really say you guys are an inspiration to me, and I feel really, really blessed that I just get to be within your guys' community and to see all the great things to come. And so I'm going to be rooting for you guys and hopefully immerse within your Unbreakable community. So thanks for what you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us on.
Thanks for listening to The Grip. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can also follow along on Instagram at The Grip Pod to stay up to date on new episodes. That way you can send over a DM if you've got a question you'd like to hear answered on our roll call series. Now remember, stay sharp, be grounded, and never lose your grip. See you next time.